Some of the music artists or groups that I have, spoken on recently since I started doing this are truly unsung. Some of them, you know, whether it was the fact that they never were able to adapt to the times, or they were just dropped from the label, personal issues, whatever, bad luck. After a hit song or a hit album, they just disappeared and they truly became unsung. A small handful have become icons in the game. Most, or at least a good percentage of them, kind of fall into Mia's category, the ones who are truly talented. While they may not have reached the death defying heights of stardom of, say, a Diana Ross or a Beyonce or, you know, Aretha Franklin, she's managed to carve out a niche for herself. She's had a lot more hit songs than you think she has, and she's put out a lot more material than you think you remember. Um, of course, she's also well known for her long-time successful marriage to NBA legend and Hall of Famer Grant Hill. At the time that they married each other, Grant Hill was at the peak of his NBA career. That was 1999. That was when he was literally an MVP candidate. People forget how good Grant Hill was at that time. He would give you 25 points, 7, 8, 9 rebounds a game, 7 assists. You know what I'm saying? A very exciting player to watch. But as we saw through Grant Hill's career, he went through a lot of trials and tribulations, multiple injuries, multiple surgeries, multiple rehabs. One uh, brushed with death when it came to an infection. I think it was sepsis. Nearly killed him. Now he was able to come back and have a relatively healthy career for a long period of time, but he was no longer the same player. And many women today who are, that are, in that elk, in that uh, ilk, I should say, that in that Hollywood status. A lot of them are gold diggers. A lot of them are status chasers. If you fall below a certain perceived standard, they will leave you and go to the next hot young star. You know, but Tamia has proven that their relationship is real and it stand the test of time. Now, Tamia was born in Windsor, Ontario, and to turn the stereotype of the abandoned black father on his head, she had an abandoned white father that abandoned the family, and her mother is black. The father abandoned them. And she has three younger siblings, three younger brothers, and her mother gave birth to Tamia when the mother was only 17 years old and was a single parent living in the projects. Yes, the projects in Ontario. All right. Tamia, however, had a way out of that situation. That was her talent, her musical talent. When she was just 6 years old, already she was singing on stage at her local church. And by the age of 12, she'd already been involved in several musicals which helped to hone her musical skills. At that time, she studied piano and voice with renowned Windsor musician Eugene Davis, who was also instrumental in encouraging her to pursue her vocal talent. Along with attending high school at Walkerville, she made several appearances in local theater and choral concerts before winning Canada's prestigious YTV Vocal Achievement Award in 1993. The very next year, Tamia performed at a multiple sclerosis benefit in Aspen, Colorado, which is kind of ironic for later on when she met music manager Brenda Ritchie, who was Lionel Richie's ex, and was very instrumental in his career. Wrote all of his goddamn songs that were hits. And once they left, once she divorced, there was a precipitous drop in the quality of Lionel Richie's music. Just want to throw it out there. Now, Brenda Ritchie was co-sponsoring the event and introduced herself to Tamia after the show. A few months later, Tamia, who was being courted by Warner Brothers Records at the time, called Ritchie to say that she was coming to Los Angeles for a photo session, which resulted in her lasting stay in a management deal with Ritchie. Soon afterward, Ritchie arranged for her to perform at a star-studded party that she held for singer Luther Vandross. So she allowed her to make connections, possible connections. Her performance reportedly impressed all in attendance, including veteran producer Quincy Jones, who took notice, I bet he did, and later offered her the chance to appear on his album Q's Juke Joint back in 1995. You Put a Move on My Heart, a Mika Paris cover, was one out of several Jones songs Tamia recorded vocals for. Selected as the first single from Q's Juke Joint, it became a moderate commercial success, reaching the top 20 of the U.S. Billboard Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs, but earned acclaim from critics, resulting in a Grammy Award nomination for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance at the 39th ceremony. Tamia, along with Babyface Portrait and Barry White, received a second nomination that night for Slow Jams, the second single from Jones' album, which fared similarly on the charts, peaking at number 2 on the New Zealand singles chart and received a third nod on the Best Pop Collaboration with Vocals category for performance on Missing You, a collaboration with singers Brandy, Gladys Knight, and Shaka Khan for the soundtrack of the 1996 motion picture Set It Off. In 1997, Tamia made her film debut in the action thriller Speed 2 Cruise Control. Following this, Jones enlisted the services of several producers to work on Tamia's debut self-titled album, including Jermaine Dupri, Tim and Bob, and Mario Winans, many of which would become frequent producers on subsequent projects. Upon its April 1998 release, Tamia received a mixed to positive response by critics who complimented Tamia's vocal performance and the progression from her early recordings but found the material uneven. It debuted and peaked at number 67 on the US Billboard 200. 5 singles were released from the album, including the top 20 entries Imagination and So Into You. Now, I'm not going to lie. I remember when that song debuted. It was at the tail end of my senior year in high school. And I'm not a huge Tamia's fan per se, but that's one song that I found from her that was extraordinarily catchy. And maybe some people don't agree with this, but I found it to be her signature song. You know, So Into You. I do, I'm doing, I am really explaining. I'm so into you. I really like what you until me. What you to me. I'm so into you. Oh, let me stop. Let me stop. The cats are screeching. In 1999, Tamia garnered the Singer 2 Juno Award nominations for Best New Solo Artist and R&B Soul Recordings of the Year. In 1999, Tamia collaborated with American singer Eric Benet on his single "Spend My Life with You." I do remember that song too. The song reached the top of Billboard's Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart and earned her a fourth Grammy Award nomination, as well as the NCAA Image Award for Outstanding Song. Soon afterward, however, Tamia transitioned to Elektra Records the same year and began work on her second album, A New Day. Rapper producer Missy Elliott, frequent co-producer Bink, Dallas Austin, and Shep Crawford worked with Tamia on the majority project, which she declared not as ballad driven as her debut album and felt it was, quote, more aggressive in terms of the formats of the songs. Released in October 2000, A New Day received a mixed response from critics who complimented her more stylish sound but found the material inconsistent. It debuted and peaked at number 46 on the Billboard 200 and became her first top 10 entry on the top R&B hip hop albums, peaking at number 8. A steady seller, it reached gold status in the U.S. and produced three of Tamia's commercially most successful singles, including her only U.S. Billboard Hot 100 top 10 hit single, Stranger in My House. In 2001, A New Day was nominated in the R&B Soul Recording of the Year category at the annual Juno Awards. In 2003, Tamia appeared on the international top 10 hit Into You, a collaboration with rapper Fabulous from his second studio album, Street Dreams, based on her 1998 single So Into You. It reached the top 5 in Australia and US and was followed by Officially Missing You, the lead single from her third album. In order to gain more creative control over future projects, Tamia left Elektra amid its merger with Atlantic Records in 2005 and decided to go independent, founding her own record label, Plus One Music Group. Unlike previous projects, she only consulted longtime contributor Shep Crawford to work with her on her fourth studio album. A rather intimate process, the pair met on a daily basis in Orlando recording studio to write and produce new songs, with Rodney Darkchild Jenkins providing additional material late into the production of the album. Alluding to her working relationship with Crawford, it was eventually titled Between Friends. It was released in South Africa in May 2006 in South Africa, followed by a worldwide distribution in the fourth quarter of 2006. A moderate commercial success, it reached number 66 on the Billboard 200 while peaking at number 2 on Billboard's independent albums. Look, if I'm kind of hesitating while I'm reading this, like whoever wrote this, because look, I'm not gonna lie, I'm reading from an article. But whoever fucking wrote this thing, Jesus, I'm having to add correct punctuation and pronounce. I'm having to add words to make the sentence structure makes sense. It means anything to you. Like I have to add shit to it so that it sounds it's the right sentence structure. Like whoever wrote this, and it's excessively wordy. Who the fuck wrote this? I'm sorry, but it's like damn, like I'm having a who the fuck wrote this shit? Look at this. This is what they have written down. In November 2009, Greatest Hits, a compilation album, was released in South Africa. The same year, Tamia announced that she was working with Crawford to form a supergroup called PDK, along with singers Kelly Price and Deborah Cox. Their joint album, The Queen Project, failed to materialize, however, due to timing issues and label politics. What the fuck is that? It should say their joint album, The Queen Project, failed to materialize due to timing issues and label politics. Who the fuck wrote this shit, man? Look, I'm just gonna go. This is frustrating. Tamia wrote. Tamia over the years has written several albums. They've been under the radar. They've been moderate successes. And she still is very active today when it comes to touring and as far as future uh, album recordings. She still is a very successful artist. Now, is she as buzzworthy as she was in the late '90s and early mid 2000s? No. Um, but she still is out there. She's still making music, and I do want to mention this. I think it was in 2003 when she began having health issues. She began having issues with numbness in her arms and legs, and it was soon afterward that she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And she is a spokesman. I think she has an organization where uh, she promotes, um, you know, research and knowledge about multiple sclerosis and to fight multiple sclerosis. I think she takes a lot of medications to combat the progression of that uh, insidious disease and has so far had her symptoms kept in check. Of course, multiple sclerosis devastated Richard Pryor, just devastated her. I can't read anymore from that, man, so I'm sorry. But I just wanted to give a tribute to Tamia. Whoever fucking wrote that article is fucking illiterate. And tell me what you guys think.